Today's next story keeps us in the Golden State, right here in California. One of the amazing activities for which California has the perfect environment is surfing. The state's actually famous for it, with over 400 surf spots all across the Golden State. However, after the devastating, heartbreaking fire seen in Los Angeles County back in January, many local surfers had to put down their boards or travel to another part of the state in order to surf. The fires released heavy metals and dangerous chemicals in their wake, and rains brought the runoff into the ocean, making it unsafe to be in the water. After a few months, surfers got pretty tired of traveling to surf and decided to brave the substandard waters in order to maintain their sanity. And who could blame them? Now, one surfer from Los Angeles' Venice neighborhood told the news outlet KCRW that there comes a time when it's more unhealthy to not surf than it is to surf even in gross water. This perfectly highlights the human spirit and how indomitable it really is. Some people, of course, would rather throw caution to the wind than go crazy by giving in. And our next guest, Joey Baran, knows something about this spirit. Joey is known as a wave slayer all around the world, and he's a local legend in the California surf community. His first major competition was the 1978 Pipeline Masters, where he held his own against professionals, even though he was only 17 years old. And then in 1984, he won the competition outright. He also recently published this memoir titled Beyond the Dream, From the King of Pipeline to a Life of Serving and Inspiring Others, and it's now available for purchase. So without further ado, joining us now is author, pro surfer, U.S. Olympic surfing coach, and Pipeline Masters winner, Joey Baran. Joey, my friend, thank you for joining me.
Yeah, right. That's quite a build-up, man. A couple of North County guys and just talking it up. I love it.
Well, you've earned it, my friend, really.
Thank you. Yeah.
I do, on a serious note, I mean, your career is very, very inspirational, as is your life story. So let's start with surfing, and then we'll get to some other stuff. How exactly did you get started, and when did you decide you wanted to go pro?
Well, those are two questions. And the first answer is we moved to California, to Carlsbad in '72 during the Munich Olympics. It's always easy to remember when we came. And once I went to Magnolia Elementary School in Carlsbad, 6th grade, I realized I had a Little League background, an AAU swimming background, but I realized the guys at school, they look like the Brady Bunch guys were the surfers. And I want to be like the Brady Bunch, and they're the cool guys. So I got into surfing to be cool in 6th grade. Got my first surfboard in 1973 for my birthday. And then I was watching Wide World of Sports, and I saw Gerry Lopez win the Pipeline Masters. And this is before there was a pro tour. I mean, they were getting $500 for winning Pipeline. And I turned to my mom, and I said, Mom, I'm going to win that contest. And she said, sure, Joe. My good, loving mom said, you can do it. But that became my dream. And I tell people, I don't know why, but it's like God put in my heart to have this dream. Like most teenagers don't know for sure what they want to do. I tell anyone from 1973 right through my junior high school years, I'm going to be king of the pipeline before there's a pro tour. Wow. And so that's how I got into surfing. And by '77, I was the top amateur in America.
No kidding.
Yeah, and then I turned pro and I beat the world champion man-on-man my first heat. So then I got invited to the Pipeline Masters, and then I was the youngest guy, the last guy to get in out of 36 invitees. It's like the Masters this week in golf, right? I was like the last guy to get in, and then I made the finals with Gerry Lopez on Wide World of Sports. So that's how I became a pro surfer. O'Neill signed me a month later, January '79, $100 check. I became a pro surfer.
That's hilarious.
It is.
What was that change like? Just going from, I mean, obviously you're doing very well as an amateur, but getting into professional leagues where you're getting paid for it and real recognition, you become a public figure. That's a big adjustment. And how did you deal with that?
Well, so first of all, I was a junior in high school when I went to go surf the Pipeline Masters.
Wow.
I took the proficiency test, so I didn't really do my senior year. And I was living the dream, long hair, sandals, like that's the way it was. We were still riding single fins. And I went after the dream, and when I made the finals, Mark Spitz and Jim McKay were doing the commentating. And they said, there goes little Joey Baran, the California kid. So they gave me my branding when we didn't even know what branding was. The millennials didn't exist, and I had my brand. So it was a huge change because I went from being a student at Carlsbad High School, La Paloma Continuation High School, to the California kid in the surf magazines, in the surf movies. And I did have the notoriety like that. And it was a huge change. And it didn't always work out well. I was pretty outgoing and I could rub people wrong. But in the end, I became the poster child of pro surfing's birth and emergence in America from 78 to 84. I rode that wave. I got the best wave of that wave when the sport went from, as Bob Hurley said, $1 million to $1 billion. I was the brand.
Well, so you were at the birth of an industry.
I was,
really.
absolutely.
Yeah, which is very interesting, and to see you succeed with, I mean, that's just so awesome, by the way. I mean, you set your sights out as a kid, you go for it, literally riding the wave all the way to the top, and then what happens? You win the championship, and where did you go from there?
Well, I won the Pipe Masters December 17th, 1984. Okay. 4 world champions in that final and 4 Pipeline Masters champions.
Wow.
So that's like FedEx Cup champions and Masters Golf champions, Green Jackets.
Yeah, right.
So everyone was really actually happy for him because no California had ever accomplished anything like that. And then 2 years later, Tom Curran won the world title for California. And the next 50 years, nothing like that really ever been the same except for Rob Machado from Encinitas, who won the Pipe 16 years later. And it was a big adjustment to go from fulfilling my dream to now I'm going to run a pro surf tour. So I took my transition to the next chapter of my life. And I did that for a few years and decided I didn't want to really be in charge of pro surfers. It's like herding cats, as my mom would say. My mom used to say, Joe, they're surfers, you know. So I kind of went through a rough state and I bottomed out. Actually, in my book, I talk about it. I had an attempted suicide. And it was really more than anything because my life always had purpose and vision. You know, I was raised Catholic, I always had faith in God. But I just, after the Pipe Masters, my dream at 24, like what comes next? So I meandered for about 3 years. And then in 87, I made a serious commitment to Jesus. Not just, you know, going to church because my mom says to, but a true personal commitment. And through it all, by going through open doors, I became a pastor.
No kidding.
Yeah, so I've been a pastor for 37 years. And when I became a pastor, the Lord brought my beautiful wife, Jennifer, from Encinitas into my life. And so we've been sharing the journey for 37 years, getting married, doing ministry, 4 kids, now 9 grandkids, and living the dream.
Wow. So,
beyond the dream.
Yeah, well, it's really remarkable to accomplish something that impressive at such a young age. Really speaks volumes about your character and your work ethic as well. For anyone who's ever tried to surf, it's not easy. Yeah, at least not for everybody.
It's very discouraging, actually.
Yes.
You can shoot the ball at the hoop and it'll go through sooner or later. Surfing, you get knocked around for 9 months to a year before you even feel like you're not a kook.
Yeah, you really do. So it's really remarkable. But then focusing now on your ministry and your work with really serving others and giving back to the communities that gave you so much. What can you tell us about that?
It's very humbling. You know, Jesus said, the greatest in the kingdom is servant of all. And it's hard to be a servant of all. It seems like, I'm going to be a pastor. I've got vision. I've got direction. I can lead people.
Sure.
And the Lord's like, no, you're going to wash their feet. You're going to be, you know, slandered. You're going to go through all this stuff. So there's that process where you lose yourself. And John the Baptist said, I must decrease, he must increase.
Yes.
And that's humbling. And in my process, I actually ended up in Vermont for a year, working room service for $4.40 an hour, pastoring a small church in the O'Connell Lodge, while working at the Sheraton to learn to be the servant of all. And It was a very valuable lesson in my life. So when God brought us back from Vermont in the late 90s, back to North County, I learned that lesson not to look at what's not happening, but focus on the people that are there. And so we know in business everyone wants to serve. You have to serve. McDonald's, you got to serve.
Yes.
You know, Walmart, you got to serve. But for the ministry, you're the servant of all. So you never have to find your niche market. It's 8 billion people. There's no shortage of people to serve in Jesus' name. And what you really got to learn, though, is how to truly serve and forgive and build people up and impart dreams and vision and encouragement. And that's my strength because Joey Brand, as you know, is a dreamer. So I always want to build people up, forward, onward, and upward for the things that God has made them for and what he wants to do in and through them. So this is a really fun time in my life because I've already accepted that I get the beat down in serving others and I get the joy in seeing them succeed and be successful at their life and their callings. And I just love it. And I tell people this all the time, Riley, because I'm 64. I'm on the clock for, Medicare. 64 is when you get it, right? And I'm like, I'm not retiring, I'm refiring. And I'm not expiring, I'm inspiring. And I'm like Dick Van Dyke at 100. I'm just going to keep going from glory to glory. So it's always new adventures with Joey Baran. And so, but this is a really sweet season because when you get older, you get more wisdom.
Yeah.
And you learn not to say something back, you learn to let it go, and you can become more fruitful in your journey. And that's where I'm at right now.
Well, I think it's a great mindset, realizing that life is a precious thing, and you never
Indeed.
know how much time you're going to have on this earth, truly, and people don't understand that you can't take that for granted. So to see your passion for it and the fact that you have passion for people and you put that into action, that's something I think we can all learn from. And I
Thank you.
think a lot of Americans out there, similar to myself and maybe you at some point, they feel lost, they don't know what to do, but they know they want to help. They want
Yes.
to contribute. So finding how you can really fit into that world it can make all the difference for people. It can really change lives.
Yeah, when you just begin to think of others, it changes your
Yes.
worldview.
Yeah.
I mean, Jesus said a cup of cold water in his name for a child has an eternal reward.
Yes.
So I
Yes.
just see opportunities to serve, and sometimes you're like, hey, I have a ministry here, or I don't have a ministry here. But in the end, I just want to encourage people that, like you said, you can always make more money, but you can't make more time.
Yes.
And Paul the
Yes, sir.
Apostle said, redeem the time. So like I'm in the moment, I've got vision. Joey Brown's got a 5-year plan. I know where I want to be when I'm 80, but, and even 90,
Yes.
and with Dick Van Dyke when I'm 100. But in the meantime, there's things to do today, and I'm intentional with the value of life that, give us this day our daily bread. So I like to be in the moment, but I'm trajecting somewhere too.
Joey, thank you. Thank you for sharing your wisdom, your life experiences. Truly, I think it's inspiring to me, and I think
you.
a lot of other people in this country really want to hear that. You can tell there's a yearning right now for something more, to be a part of something bigger than themselves. Maybe it's a country, a community, the whole world. Either way, you can see people really hungering for that these days. So thank you for sharing that.
I appreciate it, Riley. Thank you for having me on the show, and we could have done this for hours, you and me.
I believe it. We'll have to have you back.
We'll do coffee or something, man. So thanks again for having me. And again, we want to inspire, we want to encourage, we want people to dream big dreams and get after it. Get your hustle on. Go get your dream. All right? Go do it.
Well said.
Thank you, Riley. Yeah.